Hey everyone. So I just got out of seeing Paint. It was the Regal mystery movie, so it's a preview of the new Britt McAdams film starring Owen Wilson and Stephen Root is in it, and a bunch of other people whose names I don't know specifically, even though they're somewhere in my brain. Um, I'm not sure on this film. So I thought going into this that this was going to be a Bob Ross biopic, and I thought it would be kind of cool and creative and fun, and it kind of was, but it definitely is not a Bob Ross biopic, even though it is loosely based on a lot of the stories that are circulating about Ross. It's interesting in that it is not quite clear. It's set in modern times, but it's also very kind of old school, right? So it's sort of that Napoleon Dynamite feel where it's, clearly 2023 or, whatever it happens to be. But then the main character is set in this other time period. And Owen Wilson plays Carl Nargle, who is a painter. He's been the star of public access in the beginning of the film. Everybody loves him. And it's strange for a movie that drags. This movie drags at points. The people who love him turn on him rather quickly in the film. I think that segue from him being the national or at least the local treasure to being sort of persona non grata, that goes a little bit too fast, right? They kind of demonstrate that he is sort of a womanizer and he's been through all these relationships and all in pursuit of the lost love of his life. And through that, he has also lost his muse. He's lost his desire. There's this runner of him wanting to be featured in the Vermont National Art, or not national, but the Vermont Art Museum, but he's not quite sure if he's good enough to be there. And they never establish if he is actually good enough to be there, which is strange. They make jokes about him selling his paintings to Motel 6 or whatever, which, again, if you know any of the story of Bob Ross, kind of those are things that he dealt with. And Nargle in this film is, like I said, he's kind of trapped in the past, right? He still uses a rotary phone. He doesn't know how to access the answering machine on his cell phone. It's a little bit strange. The humor is very, very dry. I appreciated it. There's some really good gags, or there's some things that you laugh at. You're not sure if maybe you're supposed to be laughing at it, but it doesn't set up obvious jokes. Overall, I think that this is a decent film that maybe failed a little bit in its marketing. Like I said, not knowing a lot about it, I assumed that this was a Bob Ross film, and I was excited. I kind of wanted to see it. My kids wanted to see it for whatever reason. Bob Ross is like a thing. Um, but that's not what this movie was, and so I'm, in a sense, very glad that I saw it before taking the kids to see it. It's not that there's anything really truly inappropriate in it. It's just it's not maybe what it's marketing itself as. Uh, so it's decent. There's some good performances. Wait for it for streaming, I guess. I don't know that I would rush out. The theater was relatively full. Again, not knowing what this film was going to be before going to see it, when people started to walk out, understandable. And I'm saying that there was this mass exodus, but there were probably 4 to 5 people who, partway into the film, just realized that this was not for them. And this is definitely not a movie for everybody. I wish that they had been a little more creative with it. At the beginning of the film, when he's painting, you see him in his landscape. You see him imagining and you see him creating this scene and the magic, the way he holds everybody enthralled. And then that kind of falls away as a young hotshot painter comes in and starts to take his spot and eventually takes the show and he starts to break down, which leads to one of the, again, maybe more creative aspects of this film, where he is kind of trying to find his muse, trying to find that painting that he wants because he desperately wants to be in the Vermont Art Museum. And there's a scene of him just kind of going crazy and throwing paint and painting the cameras. Like, you see him painting the lenses, sort of a fourth wall break. And that was cool. But there's just not enough of that in this film throughout. They do go back to the imagination kind of a little bit toward the end. But for a film that spends a lot of its time talking about how you need to be creative and inventive, and if you want to make art, you've got to take risks, it doesn't really take a lot of risks. And maybe it needed to take a little bit more. So if you see this, please let me know. I'm not gonna go on too long about it because yeah, it was okay, but it wasn't great. The very Napoleon Dynamite sort of, and the humor is very dry, and it's sort of set in this, like it could be at home in the 70s with the way it's colored and the way it's filmed and the main character, but clearly still set in, um, modern times, like 2023, whatever. So, anyway, if you have seen this, let me know what you think. I hope you enjoyed it. And again, thanks for watching. Do all the like and share and subscribe and all that. And I'm hoping to go see Shazam. So maybe it'll be a little more enthusiastic. All right, guys. Bye.